Up with Cash. It's your host, Cash Money Morgan. You guys, it's been a crazy time. The 4th of July was freaking awesome. Best holiday ever. I definitely got a cold at the lake, but if you go to Lake of the Ozarks, you know that that's, like, you're coming home with something, so I'm just grateful I came home with a cold. But something really exciting, though. I didn't fall in love, but I definitely met someone verified from OU. That was kind of a vibe, like blue check mark. Never really had that before, but so that was super fun. But honestly came back, and you know, we're back in the work vibe. I feel like I haven't honestly stopped since Miami, but in a weird way, even though I haven't stopped, it's like I'm still already rested, so I feel like I'm giving 110%, and I'm loving it. And it's a great vibe. It's full send. It's awesome. But without further ado, please give a warm welcome to my guest, Pierce Smith.
What it do?
Pierce, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much,
man.
Cash Money.
How you feeling? You feeling fresh?
I'm feeling fresh. It's good to be back in America. So speaking English is a beautiful thing.
It is. Did you have a good 4th of July being back in America? You know?
Yeah, it was chill. Went to the lake that weekend. Ended up raining on us, and then got to see some family. So it's been good.
That's awesome. Living the dream.
Absolutely.
So Pierce has a bunch of super exciting stuff. Obviously, you just came back from France.
Well, maybe not so obviously, but for the people that know me.
Like, obvious to me. So you just got back from France. But before we get into that,
Right.
The people need to know who you are.
Okay.
I know who you are, but they don't know who you are. So.
Absolutely. So I'm Pierce Smith.
Hi, Pierce. Sorry.
From Tulsa, Oklahoma, born and raised. That's home for me. And then I know Cash Money Morgan through Evangel.
Oh, you can just call me Morgan, for sure.
No, I have to call you Cash. I mean, keeping up with Cash, I have to call you Cash Money. So we met at Evangel. I played football there for 4 years, and then got a degree in finance, and then I got a job, and then we'll get into this in a bit, but I just got back from Europe, and now I'm back in the States.
Boom.
That's
so
me.
Exciting. Like, Pierce was doing something we all wanted to do, and that's super cool. So talk about you graduated and you
Right.
got a job right away.
So I got a job. I stayed in Springfield, Missouri for about 6 months, and it was cool. Just like it was an accounting firm, and I'm a finance major, so it was cool, but I just don't think it was the greatest fit for me at the time. Maybe down the road it might be, but at the time it wasn't a great fit. So it was a good experience, but I'm glad I ended up leaving.
Yeah. Okay, so Pierce is being a very humble guy. Pierce is a humble guy. So when you went to France, you went to go play
American football.
And
you have to say American football when you go over there, because obviously they say football is soccer. But yeah, shout out to Chase Gehring. So my good friend Chase, he went and played 2 years before I went, so in 2020. And he got me the hookup over there, and so I went over there, and I played for 6 months, and I just got back.
So how do you go from like sitting in your 8 to 5, you know, you're
Yeah.
typing spreadsheets, you're looking at the time clock,
Literally.
and then you're like, man, I could be playing football in Europe right now. Like, how did that idea even spark for you?
So the big thing was Chase. We had talked about it, and he's like, dude, I mean, the opportunity's there if you want to do it. And so I got in contact with the team. They said, hey, if you want to come, like, we'll start working on it. And so I said, you know, get the ball rolling, and we'll take it from there. And then next thing you know, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I'm saying, hey, this is an opportunity I can't pass up. Everybody was in full support, which was nice. Like, I still have good connections with my bosses and everything. So from there, it happened.
Yeah, and where did you stay again in France?
Bourdeaux, France. So it's like the #1 wine country in the world, like
Okay.
Bourdeaux wine, on the west coast of France. You know, you have the beach an hour away, the mountains 2 hours away. I lived on a river. It was gorgeous.
Gorgeous. So it can be pretty intimidating going by yourself to a foreign, country you've never been to,
Very
and being there
intimidating.
for so long. So what was kind of going through your head, and how did you mentally prepare for being there for, what was it? Well, I'm graduated, but I still am always like, a semester? Like,
Right. I mean, technically it was, if you think about
Yeah.
it as a semester, it's
Yeah.
pretty close. Preparation was, that's interesting. I've never been asked that before, but
What can I say? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
#1 podcast in America. It was difficult because it kind of all came at once because I went there January like 6th or so, and then I only got the notice in like early to mid December. So it was a quick turnaround. Like, hey, here's my 2 weeks. I'm packing. I'm moving all my stuff out of Springfield into my yeah. So, and then preparation was just like, you know what? It's a once in a lifetime experience. It was just all a mental thing. I said, make the most of it, and I tried to. But and then I was on a plane.
Were there moments where you were like, shoot, am I doing it? Is this the wrong? Should I go home?
Of course. But once you get over there, like I had to sign a contract and everything. So like as I'm signing the contract, I'm like, all right, here it is, 6 month commitment. Like I'm in this thing. So. Yeah.
So let's talk about how you get there. So how was the cultural differences between the team versus where you were living? Can you talk about like where you were staying and how that all worked?
Sure. So I was staying with the physical therapist for the team. The team's called Bourdeaux Lions. Shout out to all the boys back home. Not back home, back in France. But I was staying with the physical therapist. He was generous enough to open his home to me, so I stayed there for 6 months. And then every 2 weeks we have a game, and everybody I'm playing with is not in. They're either like getting their masters, or some of them are in high school. Like there was an 18-year-old on the team. Some of them are like have full-time careers. Like there's like a 28-year-old, but all of them absolutely love American football. Like they're obsessed with it. So that's what's super cool. And then I just got to build relationships with those guys. Got to meet some of their families, their girlfriends, and then other than that, I mean, it was great to meet the people over there and see how they live and how sometimes I would take American football for granted, but they absolutely love it with a dying passion.
So with the team, are most of them all from France then? Yes,
most of them are all from southern France specifically. So it's kind of interesting. So rugby's like huge over there, obviously. I don't know if it's obvious to people, but rugby, especially in southern France, rugby is everything. Rugby is life. And so
live, laugh, rugby, I guess. Yeah.
And so a lot of these guys used to play rugby, but now they transitioned to another contact sport, which is American football. So a lot of them are from Bordeaux, southern France, a few from northern France. That's kind of like soccer, football country. But everybody's from France basically.
So France always has that stigma about they don't like tourists or Americans. So how was that when you were there?
So I will say Paris, that's pretty true. Like Parisians, I think is what they call them. But even the people, like some of my teammates are like, yeah, Paris is cool. Go there once or twice. But honestly, like I'm French and I don't even like to go to Paris. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy.
Wow.
Like for you probably love it because it's fashion and like all yeah, of course. But like for me, it was cool. Like see the Eiffel Tower, see the Arc de Triomphe, like the cool stuff. And then other than that, it's like I'm ready to get back to Bordeaux where the people are nice and I can sit down and have a charcuterie board with the boys.
So you also were getting your master's too,
right? So I was getting my master's. I still am actually through Liberty University. So I was just doing that online.
Sponsorship,
right? Yep, private Christian school through and through.
So time zone wise, did that really affect classes or anything, or?
It was honest. It was kind of. It made it a little bit easier, and I say that because. So I was over there like through the daylight savings, but it was like either 6 or 7 hours difference. So, like say I had an assignment that I hadn't gotten to, I would just stay up till 4 a.m. and get it done, and it would still be on time. So
that's
that
crazy.
was clutch.
You're just crazy for that. So what would you say was one of the biggest challenges living there? Like one of the things that was really difficult?
I mean, the hardest thing would have to be the language barrier. I say that because a lot of the guys were actually, I don't know if they were nervous, but I could just tell they weren't like super adamant to like hang out with me, and some of them were the ones that were like pretty close to being bilingual or that were bilingual, like they would hang out and invite me to stuff. But some of the other guys I just didn't get to know as well because 1, I don't speak French, and then 2, they barely speak English, and so they don't want to like just that language barrier is too difficult. I took Spanish in high school, so if I went and played in Spain, it would have been maybe a little bit different. But French is just such a difficult language, and I know a lot of the guys are giving me a hard time about not learning enough French in 6 months. But I should have applied myself more. But that's probably like one of my biggest regrets is like not learning more French.
Yeah. So on the football field then, did that language barrier play in that at all? Or not really?
Not at all. Well, coaching wise, I guess, like if the coach, he spoke pretty good English, but if he needed to give me a pointer, like maybe there were a few language or translations that didn't translate perfectly. But other than that, they said all the plays in English. Like they accommodated everything to me. And
wow.
Shout out to Ulysses. He was kind of like my go-to guy for everything. He helped me with everything. He's bilingual. He'll be in the States soon, so that'll be fun to.
Wow, are you gonna drop his like confirmation, flight number?
No. I'm just saying, like it's just he's super cool guy. He helped out with everything, and he was a fellow O lineman. So like.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like everything football wise, he was able to translate and make sure I understood. So
was there a certain game where you were like, man, this was the best game of the entire season? Like, this is the one that I'm going to tell my grandkids about?
So our first away game was probably one of the coldest games I've ever played in my life.
Shoot.
Because the reffing is a little bit difficult because a lot of them are volunteer refs. And so it was like a 4-hour American football game, which is insane if you know American football. So it was like snowing, sleet, and you're out there for 4 hours, and it was rough. So that was an interesting one. That one stuck out. But the one that really sticks out is I think it was like our second or third away game, and we win. And I wasn't prepared. And Chase was with me he played with me that week, and so we win. We get on the bus. Next thing you know, they have a huge speaker. Like the music's bumping. They have American music. They have French music. They have EDM music. Like
wow.
Everyone's going crazy. Everybody's taking their shirts off. Like we have 2 bus drivers, and one of them's crowd surfing through the bus. Like the coach is getting crazy, and Chase and I are like, "What is happening?" And everybody's like, "Oh, it's just rugby culture. Like this is normal. Like after win or lose after a game, like you just have a good time." And so. They had a good time. I'll say that. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget that moment. It was
Shoot,
insane.
It was a movie.
Absolutely.
So, what's one of your just favorite things about France or the experience in general, honestly?
I would say the people and kind of the way they live, like the culture. It's very different. It's obviously like they're political structure is a little bit different, and you kind of see that in the way they live. Like they have the free healthcare. They pay a lot more taxes, so they have a lot more universal things. But at the same time, they enjoy their relationships a lot more, and you can tell that. Like they're not about getting the bag 24/7. Obviously, some people are, but a lot of them like you go out and have a 4-hour dinner, like regularly, like. You're with your boys and you just go enjoy life, and it's like in the middle of the week as well, which is super cool. So it's just the way they kind of take life easier, and everything's relaxed, and they enjoy each other. They value those relationships very heavily. So I just admired that a lot. That was super cool.
There's a quote too that people always say that like America, we live to work, and that in Europe they work to live. And I think
you can kind of see that. Yeah. Especially like, and this is like everybody asks me this, but like the flights are super cheap throughout the year. So like sometimes you can catch like a $10-$20 flight to a different country, and so these guys are like, they work, and then every once or twice a month you catch a flight over to a different country with your friends or your girlfriend, and you do your thing, and then come back and get back to work.
Oh my gosh, that's the life I need. That's what I'm doing things wrong.
Right. No, it's super cool. It was awesome. So I got to, travel as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, you did some traveling while you were over there. Where are some of the places that you went?
So I went to Italy 3 times.
Slight flex.
Yeah. Well, two places in one trip, and then so I went to Milan with my mom. She was able to come out for 2 weeks, and so we got to travel to a few countries. And then Chase came and visited for 2 weeks. We got to travel a bit, and then I did a little bit of traveling on my own, but not much.
Okay, but talk about where you went on your own. So when we were talking when you were in France, and I thought it was just the absolute coolest thing that you were doing this. So can you just kind of talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, it's like where I traveled, right?
But also like how you wanted to go and just do it alone and like vibe out.
Sure. So okay.
He's like, we're gonna shut up.
So I went to Italy. I went to Milan. I went to Venice and Rome. Rome was my favorite out of those 3. I went to
How
Spain.
come? Why was it your favorite?
Because of the history. So you have the Colosseum, you have the Roman Forum. It's like, because, you know, America, it's old, but it's not old. You know, you get over there, it's like, I looked it up. I think it was 80 AD. It was like the year stuff was built. It's just insane. It's hard to wrap your head around. And then I went to Scotland. That was one of my top places. Went there with my mom, and we went up to the Isle of Skye. Just beautiful mountains and cliffs and everything like that. Ireland was cool. Went to Ireland twice. I went to Spain twice. I went to Spain once with some of my friends, and then I went to Spain by myself once. It's called Tenerife, and so it's an island off the coast of Africa. Went to Iceland at the end of the trip. That was probably the best out of everything.
Why was that the best?
One reason was because I was with two of my friends from back home, and then another reason was because it's just gorgeous, and we rented a van and drove around the whole island and just
that's awesome.
Vibed out. And then there were a few other places, but I can't remember them at this moment. So yeah, to get to like the vibes part, I guess. the vibes were cool. So shout out to Toby. He was like, dude, honestly, like you're getting your master's, you can do that online. Go buy a hotel or something in a different country and just vibe out by yourself. Just go meet people, go to a beach, do whatever. And so I did that once. You know, it was a little pricey. I spoiled myself a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
He's like, yeah, I got the prime rib, like, no big deal. With the lobster tail.
I had to. I mean, I came back a little broke, but we're vibing. When in Rome, you know.
When in Rome, literally, I guess.
Yeah. So,
So what'd you do while you were there by yourself then?
I met a few people. That was cool. And then honestly, like, I just kind of reflected, you know, I just sat there like in my own thoughts, which was cool, and just admired God's creation, and obviously did some like tourist stuff, hiked a volcano, and you know, some cool stuff. But it was just, I was kind of reflecting over my time in France and in Europe, and reflecting like how God is moving in my life, and you know, all these people, like, there's so many people in America that'll never get to go over to Europe like I did, and that's crazy to think about. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's cool. Everybody has their own journey, but there's so many loving people over there, and they value people, and that was my biggest takeaway from France. Is just like love people. So
that's awesome, Pierce. Yeah. That's awesome. So you said too. Okay. Dating life in France? So is there like French Tinder different, or I'm just
shoot? Okay,
I'm just kidding.
No. We can get into it because it's actually funny. Like my first week there, all the dudes are like, dude, you have to get Tinder. Like Tinder's everything, you know? Because it's
I feel like America is so like,
it's like low key a hookup culture. I'm not gonna lie, and like that's just not my vibe. And so they were like, dude, get Tinder. And then the next week, have you gotten Tinder yet? I'm like, nah, it's just I'm okay. Like it's just not for me. Even the guy I was living with, he's like, Pierce, have you gotten Tinder yet? I'm like, no, not yet, you know.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's just a funny little story. They love Tinder. So.
But did you meet like any?
Not really. Most of the girls I met were like the guys' girlfriends, and so I'd hang out with them a lot, and they were some of the coolest people I've ever met. Like, it was cool to hang out with them and their girlfriend. I was a third wheel, obviously. But it was just cool. It was very cool. So
is the culture different there where, because some places in Europe, like you can go up to someone randomly or like at a bar and you can be like, hey, what's up? And it's fine. But some places, like you can go up to someone and they're like, no, or they won't acknowledge you or they won't talk to you. What was that like? Like if you were walking down the streets in France and you're like, oh, this person is beautiful, I want to meet them. Would that be normal or no?
I don't think so. A lot of the places were hard for me to like get understand like the dynamic and the environment I was in. You know, like you go to a restaurant or like a bar or something, and you just don't understand like, hey, is this like, do I sit down? Do I need to wait to be seated? Do I need to be like with the group? Are there reservations? Are there not reservations? And especially obviously if you speak English and not French, you're like, crap, like here comes Google Translate. Time to look like a tourist. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't shoot my shot with anybody, obviously, but
there's always next time.
Right.
You go to Iceland.
So I'm not 100% sure. I'm from the South, and so you meet somebody, you say, hey, how are you doing? And they say, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Just everything. And that would happen. I would do that a few times with people, like just give me a good look or a weird look and say, "Oh, I'm good, okay," in French. But yeah,
very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. So, what was the coolest food you ate or anything?
Coolest food. Probably my favorite thing was like just a charcuterie board. Like obviously they have that here in America, but over there it hits a little bit different.
So much better, probably. I'm
like
assuming.
you have you have a glass of wine, you have your cheeses, your foie gras, your pate, like the meats, everything. And then that was like probably number one. And then up there was like just a steak. It was like a high quality steak. My last meal, shout out to Alex Dewberry, my other good friend over there. Him and I went and bought like, it was just the two of us, and we both spent $111 on like a one last meal. Like, hey, this is our last meal together.
Last supper.
Yeah, exactly. So we had like steak, truffle mac and cheese, like salad.
Oh my gosh,
everything.
truffle mac and cheese.
Yeah, we went hard. But it was insane. Yeah.
So I know we talked about that some people, in America will never have the chance to go to Europe. Do you feel like people should, I'm not saying like, oh, we, should have the right or anything, but do you feel like as a person, it's kind of important to immerse yourself in a different culture, or like if you can ever leave the country, do it, that kind of thing?
I say it depends, because the coolest thing about the United States, and all the guys back in France were saying this, like you can go to one side of the United States and go to the other side, and they're totally different. So you can. That's the cool thing. You don't have to travel and break the bank and fly 16 hours across the world just to experience a different culture. Like, go to New York if you're from the Midwest. Go to California. Go up north. Like, go to Louisiana. Just if you don't want to break the bank and like you don't want to go over there, you can do it here. But at the same time, if you can go over there and you have the opportunity, I 100% endorse it, because one, the language barrier, it's super cool. And then two, you just get to, it's kind of like going on a mission trip, I guess. Like you get to see a totally different side of the world and see a totally different culture. It's like not 100% like New York or going to California. You get to see, it takes it to a whole new extreme, I guess. So yeah, I would totally say if you have the opportunity, do it.
That's awesome. So when you were with, the guys on your team or your roommate and stuff like that, are things that are trendy and normal here in the U.S. the same thing there? Like, are the music artists the same? Like the memes, the stuff that's trending on Twitter? Was it like on the same page about stuff, or?
Pretty close. So the United States is like the number one entertainment country in the world. Like, most of the world's entertainment, whether it's music, TV, movies, everything, comes through the United States. So like Marvel's huge over there. Like the music, like obviously like a lot of the football guys listen to like American rappers and stuff, but at the same time they have their own, like France is probably I'm not 100% sure on this, but just in my experience, like number 2 or 3 in like creating their own entertainment and things like that. So they have like French musicians and French movies and everything. So yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Very cool.
So you're taking this experience and you came back to America. What are you going to do with it, Like I said earlier,
the biggest thing is loving people. So I saw this, I don't know where I saw it, but it was something about like you can be wealthy in relationships, you can be wealthy financially, you can be wealthy and like mentally, all this things, spiritually. And so being wealthy in my relationships has like been a pretty big focus. And so I've always like been a people person, but now it's like, who cares if I miss something? If I'm in growing a relationship, like even here, like you and I are growing our relationship right now, just sitting here and having a conversation,
right?
Just little things like that. If I go, have dinner with someone for 2 or 3 hours, that's me pouring into them and they're pouring into me, and we're building our relationship. Sure, I could be, doing something in the stock market or making money somewhere else, but just valuing people. That's the biggest takeaway for me, and I'll take that into my next career and my next job and throughout my career. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel like God used you then, or maybe how He's going to use you now?
Okay, interesting. So
sorry.
No.
Full spiritual plug.
No. Please do. So another thing is, I think, and I don't know if this is a regret or it's just like one of those things. It was like the cliche season I was in or whatever.
Stop.
I know.
I mean, it's everyone had to be going through
Exactly.
seasons. You know,
So being over there, I think God was working through me more than he was working in me more than he was using me to work through some of those people. I probably should have evangelized a little bit more, but my big thing is always build a relationship first, and then you can show them who Jesus is second,
right.
So I built like deep relationships with those guys. That's where when I go back over there, or if they come over here, like, then you can get into like the deep stuff and start to really understand. So building that trust was something. But God was working through me through one, the relationships. Two, he was showing me, hey, trust me and I'll take care of you. Because coming out of college, you're chicken with your head cut off. You're just trying to figure things out. And
you're lost.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he was like, hey, let's go take a chance on this, and I'll show you, I'm here for you. So, yeah.
And I think it takes a lot for someone to be like, I don't know what is going to happen, but I just feel like I need to go do this. Right. And I think coming back, you're probably really confident in so many different areas, just being like, I just did all of this, not alone, but basically like alone, you know? And
totally.
So,
like my confidence, that was one thing. Like I've always had like decent confidence, but it's always been on the lower side, I think. So like that's one thing. Like my confidence is built, and it's like that's something that he worked through me in. So yeah.
I think it's interesting too how you say the evangelizing thing. Like when I went to Cyprus, they say the same thing. They're like, honestly, people will always just be like throwing things out like, got this, like do this or you're gonna go to hell. And it's like, when you build a relationship and people trust you and they're like, oh, this person loves me, like this person cares about me, and then you're like, hey, I care about you, like, have you ever done that? I'm here for you if you need anything. That's almost a bigger ministry than just like throwing it out in random public.
And it's even bigger when you're over there in a foreign country, because you have to fully immerse yourself into that culture. So like whether you have to do the activities that they do. Like obviously if it doesn't align with your beliefs and things like that and what the Bible says, then don't do it. But like little things, So you have to understand where they're coming from and put yourself in their culture to understand where they're at. So yeah. So
I'm sure it must have been hard at times, being alone or missing your family at times when you were in there.
Absolutely.
How did you kind of cope with that? I mean, we all know that I have like really bad coping mechanisms. I would have bought like a French purse or something, but what did you do?
It was hard because of that time difference. Like I couldn't call my friends. I'd have to stay up and they'd be just getting off work and it'd be like 1:00 in the morning. I'm like, golly, man, my sleep schedule was horrible. But I guess just trying to stay connected to my friends and things like that, and just keeping my sanity spiritually, making sure I relied on God. So like that was one of those things. Like I had to rely on Him because I didn't have those connections or like a church over there, like an English speaking church at least. So just things like that. Staying connected to people back home. That was probably the biggest thing for me. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So now what's next for you? I guess job-wise, or you're figuring everything out, or I don't know. I'm not sure. It's kind of cool, but as funds start to get lower, I need to start figuring out. Well, like, there's always bio life. So. Yeah, of course. There's ways to make money, but I'm going through that. I just got home kind of, so I'm enjoying seeing people that I haven't seen in 6 months. Right. It's me. I'm people. Right. No, but I'm seeing my family and my friends and making sure like everyone knows, hey, I'm safe, I'm okay, I haven't changed. But applying to jobs, going back, I probably want to go back to Tulsa, maybe stay in Fayetteville with my mom. Midwest is life for me. I'll always be in the Midwest. Yeah. So big Midwest guy. Yeah, big time. The people are nicer. But I'm not sure. I'm figuring it out still. And it's real. That's honest and real. I mean, everyone is figuring everything out in their own way. And so how do you feel like this experience is going not affect your future and stuff like that, but you said your confidence has grown, your relationship with God has been different. So how does that affect maybe like your dream for your dream job or stuff like that? Like, has your time in France affected or changed what you envision, like, this is the life that I want? Yes, but in a weird way. So when I first got out of college, or even going up through high school, I was like, I have to be successful. I have to make money. I have to, be the next CFO of some big corporation, or I have to, be an entrepreneur and make lots of money and everything. But it's important to me still, but it's just not. It's not my number, 2 or 3 focus anymore.
Yeah.
It's shifted down. I'm more focused on building these relationships and making sure I'm strong spiritually, and I'm making sure, like, once I have a family, I'm a great dad, a great husband, things like that. Like those are so far more important than making money. So
yeah,
that's going to affect me for sure. And then at the same time, probably just like when I go into these job applications or these job interviews, just I'm another guy. I'm
guys, Pierce is so pure. What? Somebody just give this man a job. Like
no, it's me. But like things like that. I'm gonna walk into the job and I'm Pierce Smith. I've been in France for 6 months. I've had these experiences in the past that have changed my life for the greater. I've been on this journey and I can bring value. So
wow,
yeah,
that's awesome. So football career, is that where we at on that?
Man, people keep asking
coach
me.
Or
right. I mean, I've thought about it. I love football and the kids. And it'd be super cool to change kids' lives through, like, even coaching high school.
100%.
DJ's trying to get me to go play at Evangel again, but I'm not sure if that's the move. And then, like, also, if I really tried, I think I might be able to, like, contribute some way to, like, play at the next level if I, like, dedicated myself for a year, got super ripped and, like, fit and everything. So I don't know. I'm gonna take it. That's kind of what this time is, being back home as well, figuring things out, figuring out what's my life plan, what's next for Pierce. So
what's the dream job, honestly?
Sheesh.
I mean, obviously, dream wife, kids on a boat somewhere in Fayetteville or something.
So obviously, like, people ask you this ever since you're in middle school, you're in high school. And I don't know if this is like, I don't know, but my big thing is I just want to be a dad. I cannot wait to be a father.
Oh my gosh,
I know. That's
the wrong one. Yeah, I'm laughing at your dream. Oh no, that's not it either.
There it is. Yeah. But I would love to just impact the next generation and impact my kids' lives and make sure, like, the things that I went through, they don't go through, things like that. So just to be a good father and a good husband. That's so awesome. That's number one. Yeah.
I mean, Pierce was an RA in college.
I
feel like you've literally been just the kind of personality where you love to love people and take care of them.
I try.
And so that makes perfect sense, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, trust God and the money will come. I'm just trusting God. I'm going through, doing my due diligence, and it'll all work out. Just put your trust in God. That's what I'm doing. So I'm vibing. We're back in America.
Chilling.
We're speaking English.
That's
it's beautiful.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm just kidding. Was it ever scary there? Like,
it was so scary.
Crime or anything?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm a 6'6" dude that weighs 330 pounds.
Scared if I go there?
I mean, maybe don't walk around 3 a.m. But no, Bourdeaux.
Sad girl hours. I'm just
right. Bourdeaux is probably one of the best places you can be in France, and even the people over there, they're like, yeah, Bourdeaux is the place to be. Paris, a little dirty. People are a little mean. Probably the crime's a little bit more, but Bourdeaux was legit. So
what was your favorite memory of all time in France?
Favorite memory? There's so many that it's hard to choose. One cool one was I went up to one of my friends that I mentioned earlier, Alex. We went up to his family's up in the vineyards in wine country, like the hills, and there's everything, right? And then they have a rugby team out there, and it's like, think of like the country American football team, like a Texas team that's a bunch of country dudes that are just playing because they like the dude next to them, and they're not playing for the money or anything. So we go out to this game. We spend the weekend with his family. We eat good food and swim and everything and enjoy the time. And then we go to this rugby game, and it's these crazy people are going nuts over this rugby game. And it's just these diehard fans that are there just because they love their small little town. And that was just so cool to see that rugby, like to see the rugby culture. It was insane. And then we actually ended up, the team that we were supporting ended up losing the game, but everybody stays for hours after the game and just they they communicate with each other and they just have a great time and they relax. So it was a very different experience, but it was one of the coolest things to see.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if you ever have to go to Europe again, where are you going to go?
Sheesh. Bordeaux. I would say.
Really?
Yeah, and I say that I have to stop in Bordeaux at least. I have to see my guys. I have to. If I go to Europe and don't stop there, it's like disrespectful almost. It's like I'm here, but I'm not going to come see you.
Yeah.
So that I'd love to go to Germany. I didn't make it to Germany, and then it would be super cool to go to like the Nordic, like Sweden and Norway and all that stuff. Man,
so you just have like no desire to go to like Greece or anything?
Oh, Greece is up there, but like I want to do that with my wife. You know what I mean? Okay. That's the other thing. Like I don't want to go to these romantic spots. Like you know what I mean? I'm not trying to go there with the boys and. I could. Yeah.
I guess I'm just built different.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of a girly thing. So to see her enjoy that would be cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Shoot. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing this.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome story, Pierce.
It was a pleasure.
Okay, Pierce. So, as we get into this, obviously, you know how I like to end every show.
Of course.
This man be listening to every episode. Pierce is like a fangirl, and I love it. I'm
not a fangirl. I just support my friends.
Okay. Come on, you can be a fangirl.
Right.
No, Pierce is literally thebomb.com. And it was so cute because like whenever he would I can tell when people listen, like the different areas on the stats, and it's like, oh, Pierce, listen.
Yeah, she would hit me up. She's like, "What do you think of the episode?" I'm like, "How do you know I listen?" Like,
I know. I'm a creeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. Anyways, so I end the show the same way every single time. Fave quote, fave song, and what do you want your legacy to be? So, and Pierce was ready. He came strapped up.
I tried. I'm slacking on the quotes because every time I come around a good quote, every time and every so often, and that's my quote. That's my quote, and then it changes.
Right.
So, I would say, I don't know who said this, but I would maybe it's in the Bible or something, but just love
it's probably
people.
Like John 3:16 in there somewhere. Like,
just love people. I'm sure someone said that before, and I'm sure it's a quote out there and whatever, but love people. That's put people first, and obviously put God first, but like people are so important. Chasing the bag is there, but man, those relationships, you'll never get those back.
And that just seems like that's the biggest thing that
it really changed everything because I was always worried about making money, but who cares? You're not going to die. That money's not going to go with you to the grave.
Yeah.
It's people when people are at your funeral, they want to say. We'll get to that in a second. Because the legacy. The legacy is one part. Okay, number two. Favorite song right now.
Favorite song.
If you know me, Pierce Smith, you know that I listen to almost every genre, and I try to, mix it up. But one that I've been vibing to recently is called Easy on the Eyes by Texas Hill, excuse me. It's just a vibe. It's a little bit country.
You want to sing it? I'm just kidding.
I could. I'm not going to lie. I listened to it on the way here to prepare. But so that's a good vibe. And then last, my legacy. I want to be
a dad. I'm just kidding.
Literally, that's actually one of the things. So, at my funeral, like I said earlier, I want people to say he was a great man of God. He was a great husband, a great father, and he loved people. So,
cheers.
Yeah. I think everyone wants that, but that's just like.
You're just like such a pure person. Like,
I appreciate it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And people need you in life, and I think that's why you were an RA. That's why you went and joined a team. Like, that's why you're in positions where you're usually a leader, because that's your heartbeat is love people.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, that sounds like. Well, thank you so much, Pierce, for coming on the podcast.
Been a pleasure.
Hopefully, I see you again soon.
Right.
But to my listeners, you guys, love you per usual. I actually decided to take Kim Kardashian's advice and just get up and work. And so the podcast hat photo shoot is happening this weekend, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait for all of it to drop. Very limited quantity. Either just should be a DM, talk to me, whatever. If you want a certain color, just hit me up. We'll figure things out. But love you guys the most, and I hope that you have a great rest of your summer. Take the words from Pierce Smith and love people. Do things that are out of your comfort zone. Meet people. Travel. I mean, even with Pierce talking about that, I've even been thinking like, oh, what if in the future I just go on like a month solo trip, which is probably super dangerous, but I'll figure it out. I don't know. So, love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have the best week.